Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back. I know, it's been quite a while ago that I uploaded a video on this channel, but now I am finally back on track. And last week I was at Oculus Connect 6 and I took that opportunity to also go to San Francisco to visit HTC, their office, and they invited me to try the Vive Cosmos, their upcoming PC VR headset. And in this video, I will be giving you my first impressions. So I hope you are going to enjoy this video. So let's kick things off with the design. And the design of this headset is quite interesting, I gotta say. Also, quick heads up, I got to play with the Vive Cosmos for about an hour, so all of the impressions I'm sharing with you are based on that one play session. So what pops the eye straight away is that it's blue, that it's shiny and not black like all the other headsets on the market. And if you care about that, then yes, it's something unique, it's different. But I'm sure that most of you who are watching this video or are listening care more about what happens from the inside. From a personal perspective, I also don't care that much about the appearance of a headset. But the design choices they made here definitely had a big impact on the weight, because it's way lighter than the original Vive, its predecessor. And that's a good step into the right direction, I would say. They got rid of a lot of unnecessary pieces that made the first one super chunky. But if I had to put it between all kinds of headsets, I think it's not the prettiest one, but also not the ugliest one. It's somewhere in the middle. But it would be silly if you buy a headset based on its appearance. I think it's all about the hardware and also the content that you can play on a HMD. So anyways, let's move on to comfort, because I want to keep this short and I want to keep this as informative as possible. So this is a rapid fire first impressions. So the Vive Cosmos is using a halo strap, and this keeps the headset in balance. You are not going to have this issue anymore where you constantly have to use your hands to adjust the display or find the sweet spot. In this case, it's going to stay in place. So if you are going to play a action-packed title, then you should be fine. I know that I only played with it for 1 hour, but I can confirm that for longer play sessions, you are going to be just fine. The comfort is amazing. You have this face cushion that is super soft, that is hugging your face. It's still made out of that cheap material though. That's such a shame. I was hoping that HTC finally moved away from that, but nope, they are still using it. The top part is touching your forehead very nicely. It's made out of leather, so at least they leveled up in that section. And then the back also has this padding. So yeah, they improved a lot. They went for the ultimate comfort here, and I think that if you are going to play all kinds of titles that are going to get you worked out, then you should be good to go. It's just that I think that the foam needs to go. It's just not good enough. It starts to smell funny after a while. Yes, you can throw it into the washing machine, but HTC should visit VR covers sometimes and learn from what they do. It's just that for the price point, I think they should have gone way better. It's just not fancy enough. Besides that, you can also, of course, adjust the halo strap. There is a dial on the back that allows you to make things go tighter, and there is a strap on top that you can change as well. I'm happy that HTC looked around this time and saw what Sony and Oculus were doing and used that in their advantage, because the halo strap is still the best design in town. Other things you can do from the outside is use the adjustable IPD. This will change the distance between your eyes. Very nice to have, of course. There are headsets out there that are missing this feature, and it starts off at 61.5 and then goes all the way to 70, 72. I'm not so sure about the top number. I can only confirm the lowest one. I didn't pay that much attention when changing the IPD. I'm sorry, I'm usually more focused on other stuff than the IPD. I'm also not doing many first impressions. This is one of the the first ones I'm doing. I hope you are enjoying the video so far. If you do, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Of course, the most popping thing about the Vive Cosmos is the flip-up visor. This allows you to easily grab fast food or a drink, access your computer to change something, and most importantly, it's great for developers that are constantly having to look at their monitor to make their game. Problem is that you can't slide it towards your face. I hope you understand what I'm talking about here. It's not like you can't flip it all the way down. It does, you know, after a while it clicks and then it's in place and it can't move anymore. But it's the fact that you can't slide the display towards your eyes. The PlayStation VR can do this with this little button that you can hold, and then it moves forward and backwards. But in this case, you can't do that. So for me, it was hard to use it because my eyes, my face was still floating. There was still a little bit of space between me and the headset itself, and that can create light leakage. It can create a little bit of a distance between you and the display, and that's actually a bad thing because then you can't completely enjoy the display at its full potential because you're not completely inside. That's a big downside, I would say. Let's talk about the headset display and also the lenses, because those are very important if you are into hardware, if you want to buy your next headset. So the display is crisp. It's so sharp. It's using an LCD. It's running on 90 Hz, and they give you a resolution of 2880 by 1700. So it's not bad at all. The specs are quite good. I really had to try to find the screen door effect in the Cosmos, and this is the same with every headset. If you concentrate on it, you can find it. But during my play session, I didn't get bothered by it, and I barely noticed it. What I did notice is the vibrant colors and the great black levels. Compared to the original Vive, it's a big difference, and they definitely reduced the God rays as well, big time. Don't get me wrong here, they were still present, but not in a way it would irritate me. It was so much reduced that I had to focus on it if I wanted to see it. Well, with the original Vive, it was in your face, so you should be good to go. But again, this is all based on my experience, and if you try it, you might have a different opinion. Let's also talk about the field of view. I'm going to keep this part short because there isn't that much I can talk about. It has 110 degrees, and yeah, for the price point I was expecting way more field of view, but instead they just went for a standard in the industry. It's not bad, but it's not great. It's somewhere floating in the middle. So that's the field of view of the Vive Cosmos. Controllers and tracking, yeah, another important subject. I didn't really like the controllers that much. They were very chunky and very heavy. Although the plus side is that they have been made out of this solid material. They are extremely strong. I don't think they are easy to break, so if you hit a wall or you drop them on the floor, you should be fine. Well, if you, let's say, use the Valve Index controllers or the mixed reality ones, there is a bigger chance of destroying them, but in this case that should not be possible. Another positive I can mention here is that they have the same design as the Rift, so that means that if you want to play with Revive on Oculus Home, then that shouldn't be an issue at all, since they pretty much look and feel the same. They are a lot bigger, but they should do the trick. The only difference that is worth mentioning is that the Cosmos controllers are making use out of a bumper button like you have on the Xbox and the PlayStation controllers nowadays. And I don't know what purpose that will serve in a VR game, but I'm sure developers out there will figure it out. But for now, HTC couldn't give me a clear answer on what a bumper button would look like in virtual reality. So the battery life of these controllers is not 2 hours, okay? It's longer. HTC did confirm this while I was asking them about it, but funny enough, they didn't tell me how long they are actually lasting. So we still don't know anything, and I wish they communicated this through social media, but they were very, very strange about this whole thing. It just frustrates me that they have this community that supports them, but they don't give them the information they deserve. The controllers have these battery compartments that you can slide off. They don't use magnets, so you just need to push them in and also use force to get them out. But because of that, you are never going to have this issue of them sliding off during a play session. Both controllers use 2 batteries, by the way, so you do need a lot of power to make the magic happen, as they say. Let's move on to the tracking. The Vive Cosmos is making use out of inside-out technology, and that means you do not need base stations anymore. The original Vive took a while to set up. You had to mount these base stations on your walls or on a tripod, but you don't have to do that anymore. It's quite easy to do now. Welcome to the future. Because of its 6 cameras, it has a big volume, and that means your controllers are getting tracked in almost every direction. It does have a few dead spots, just like the Rift S and most MR headsets, but this is only a problem when moving your controllers real slow or holding them in that specific spot. One issue that I did run into while playing a couple of games at the office in San Francisco is that if you want to play a shooter, for example, and you're holding your controllers in front of each other, they start to occlude, and this results into slight drifting. And this is the same problem the Rift S controllers have. It's not that easy to solve, but with software you can definitely tweak it, and HTC did say that they are working on that. So yeah, we'll see how that's going to go. What was really weird though was that the headset gave me a warning from time to time where it told me that the area I was playing in was too bright. So I guess you have to then close a curtain or turn off a light to change it up. Strangely, the room I played in was pretty close to normal light conditions. It did have these big windows that let a lot of light through, but I don't think that should be an issue at all. Later in the demo they closed them, but then I still had this message popping up. But even that it did give me these warnings, the tracking was fine during these moments. So I don't know what's up with that. Maybe the software needs to be tweaked and it's just too trigger happy. But it's interesting that it does need certain conditions. Anyways, something else that is quite interesting about the Vive Cosmos is that its cameras allow you to look into the real world. So if you get too close to your boundary system or you take a step too far, then you will be able to see your surroundings. And this is quite handy. It's nice to have. It's an extra option next to the flip-up design. What I was also surprised of is that this see-through mode was in full color. It was not in black and white, and it had a solid frame rate. It was extremely smooth. So this is something promising. Let's go and let's move on to audio, because audio is as important as visuals. This is of course again based on my experience, on my opinion. Everyone has a different pair of ears, but let me just share what I thought of the audio. So yeah, the audio was good enough, not much of an improvement compared to the deluxe audio strap or the ones from the Vive Pro, but they are okay. In my opinion, it lacked some bass and sounded flat, but for an average consumer, that will not be noticeable. Again, for the price point, for what you are paying, the audio is not good enough. They could have done way better in this section. It's just that they still sound like a pair of, I don't know, like medium range headphones. Well, the price is suggesting that we're getting more in the higher range of VR headsets. So I don't know what they were thinking of that. But of course you can take them off and use your own pair of headphones if you want. But still, that doesn't solve the problem you're having here when you buy it. Yeah, so let's dive deeper into modularity and performance. Yes, so let's start off with performance. Everything I played ran well on this headset. Of course, they had a gaming PC on scene that did the trick. And what I was most surprised by is that it cools really well. It didn't get hot in that 1 hour I played with it, and that's mainly because of the front panel. It has a lot of airflow and can even be taken off if you want to. Also interesting is that you can swap the faceplate with one that can be tracked by the old base stations. So this will allow you to play with, for example, the Valve Index controllers. I think the main reasons why they made this is first of all for arcades, so they don't get fast to use inside-out tracking. It's still way more solid to use base stations, and the other reason is so that current Vive owners can easily upgrade as well. I should also not forget that with that you can also use a wireless module from Intel, so you can play without cables. That would not have happened if the Vive Cosmos was inside-out tracking only. So yeah, there are some advantages here. This headset is like a hybrid between inside-out tracking and actual base station tracking, and that's quite interesting. Let's talk about the cable and the connection as well. So how do you get this headset up and running? So the Vive Cosmos is using a 5-meter cable as far as I know, and it also uses a breakout box that is pretty much the same as the Vive Pro. So that means you need to use a display part to play with it. Compatibility wise, it worked fine with SteamVR, and what I heard is that it will also work with their new platform that has Viveport built in. I don't know what is going to happen when you boot it up for the first time. Maybe it's going to force you to use Vive's platform, or that you can just decide whatever you want to do. Last but not least, I want to talk about the Vive Cosmos, its target audience. And this is something a lot of people forget, and I don't blame anyone who gets confused by this, because HTC, as I said before, is not very good at communicating. So let's go back in time. The original Vive that came out in 2016 was a consumer headset, one that you and I would buy. Then, not much later, the Vive Pro came out. Now, the Vive Pro was not a consumer headset, it was for enterprises and prosumers. Prosumers are basically consumers with a lot of money, and of course enterprises are businesses, companies like arcades for example. Then the Vive Cosmos came around the corner, and this is a consumer headset as well. So that means that this headset is the answer on the original Vive. It's big brother, the next gen. So if we combine all that information, that would mean that the Vive Cosmos should suit the wallet of you and I, the consumer, the one that wants to dip its toes into VR. And that's where it goes wrong, because it's really expensive. And that's a lot. I think a casual consumer does not have that much money to buy a headset. But maybe with Viveport they can make a comeback, because as a platform, you can win over a lot of people. If you have exclusive content that no one else has, then you are king. Content, as I said before, is king if you have the games, if you have the experiences that no one else have. And that's why Sony and also Oculus are doing so well, because they invest a lot of their money into new software, and that's something that HTC hasn't been doing that much. They do have Vive Studios, but we're still waiting for those AAA kind of like experiences that would move you over to Viveport and get that subscription. But we still have to see if that's ever going to happen. So that's about it. I'm done rambling around. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this first impressions, then be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Lets me know you care. I usually don't do impressions like these. This was new. I think this was the first time I ever did a first impressions on a headset. I'm more a guy that is about the feeling and the experience than the technical aspect, but I do hope that this was useful and that you thought it was interesting to listen and watch. So yeah, feedback is always welcome. If you have any questions about Vive Cosmos, feel free to drop them in the comments below. And now it's time for me to sign off, and as I always say, and I see you all next time. See you in the metaverse. Bye bye.